Right, so I'm going to teach you all the medical system. Open the medical menu on yourself, hold left control, Windows key, and then mouse over medical menu and release both buttons. This will open the medical menu on yourself. If you open the medical menu on another person, walk up to them, hold down the Windows key, look for the little arrow that says interaction with them, mouse over that, then mouse over the medical menu, release, and then you've opened the medical menu on them. Now when you're in the medical menu, the top left, you will see the name of your patient. Underneath that, you'll see three titles: Examine and Treatment, Status, and Overview. In the Examine and Treatment page, there's several other buttons you can hit. So you'll see View Triage Card. This will tell you what's been done to the patient, so whether morphine's injected, bandages, the time they've been put in, etc. There's Examine Patient. There you'll find check for response, check blood pressure. You'll only find check response if it's another person. You'll find check pulse and check blood pressure. Checking their pulse checks their heart rate. I'll go over heart rate a bit after. And then checking their blood pressure obviously checks their blood pressure in systolic and dystolic. To the right of that, you'll find bandage and fractures. This is where you'll use different types of imaging to treat a patient and stop hemorrhaging. Hemorrhaging is when you're bleeding out.
You want to do an example?
So to use that, getting shot, getting cut by shrapnel or grenade, falling out of a helicopter because the rappel system's bust, that sort of thing. So if you click on that, you'll see sort of bandages you have. So you see field dressing, packing bandage, elastic bandage, and quick clot. This is the 4 different types of bandages. I'll go over them in a minute. To the right of that, there's medication. So you'll find adenosine, otoprene, and morphine, and epinephrine. Otoprene and adenosine do the same thing. They're essentially the same medication. To the right of that's airway management. That's where you'll find CPR if someone's down. Advanced treatments is where you'll use a surgical or a PAK. Surgical kits stitch wounds up, stopping them from reopening. We don't have that enabled as of yet, but I'll still go over that anyway. And PAKs heal someone back up to full health. To the right of that's the drag or carry option. So you can drag or carry someone if they're down on the ground unconscious. And then to the right of that's toggle between yourself and the patient if you're in someone else's medical menu. To the right, under the status bar, you'll see a figure of a human body. This has 6 regions: head, right arm, right leg and left leg, and torso. Depending on what you click on, you'll get different options in your examine and treatment page. So you'll only get tourniquet options on the arms and legs, and you'll only get a CPR option in the advanced treatments if you click on their chest and they're unconscious. Different types of wounds will show up here too. So if you're uninjured, each limb will show up as white. If it's injured, it'll show up in various shades of red depending on the injury. And then if we have advanced wounds enabled, it'll show up as blue if it's been treated. And then needs to be PAK'd. But we don't have that enabled as of yet. So if you click on it, if you mouse over it, it'll show whether it's select head, torso, left arm, right leg, right leg. And if you click on it on the right side under overview, it'll tell you what body part's selected. So head, left arm, right arm, etc. And underneath is a list of injuries on that. So it might say something like 2 times minor avulsion, 1 times major cut, depending on what's on there. Underneath the status indicator, the human body, you'll see a triage card. So it should say none by default. There's 4 different types of triage states, and none. None basically being you're not injured, minor being you're walking wounded, delayed being you've got severe injuries, and immediate being basically you're about to die, you're in cardiac arrest, and deceased is you're dead. Underneath all that's activity log and the quick view. This basically tells you what's happened to the patient, like their treatments and things going on, whether it's when they've been injected with saline or morphine and other things. That's basics of the medical menu. So I'll go over different bandages and stuff right now. Example.
The video, that shoot me in the leg or something so they can show in the video of treating.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. Oh my god. Okay, here we go. Alright, so I'm gonna open the medical menu. His left leg and his right leg are injured. So I'm gonna tourniquet one of them while I work on the second one. I'm tourniqueting his right leg now. I'm going to tourniquet his left leg so he doesn't bleed out on that one. And then I have enough time to work on him without him bleeding out. So whichever one's got the larger wound, so one's got a larger velocity wound and one's got a large avulsion plus a medium bruise. So I'm going to work on the large avulsion first. So I'm going to use a packing bandage on an avulsion. I'm packaging that up. Still bandaging. Bandaging. Alright. That's now going to a partial large avulsion with 1 times medium bruise. So now I'm going to use another packing bandage on that. So once I've done that, now it says immediate bruise. You're not really going to treat a bruise. You need PAK for that. So I'm going to select the left leg now. Now that's a large velocity wound, so I'm also going to pack a velocity wound using a packing bandage. I'm packing that. Now it says it's fixed, there's no injuries on this body part. I'm going to remove the tourniquets, both legs.
What does the tourniquet do?
A tourniquet stops the blood from flowing to a limb, so it limits blood loss.
You won't
This will buy you extra time to work on other limbs or the chest or head or things. You want to basically, if they've got multiple limbs injured or they've got a really bad injury on a limb, you want to tourniquet it and then work on that limb. If it's just one, if it's multiple, you want to tourniquet as many limbs as you can and then work on either the chest or the head, varying on severity. Basically, you want to stop hemorrhaging as quickly as possible.
Now can I get some morphine?
So now that I've treated him and he's not bleeding out anymore, I'm going to check his status. I'm going to check his pulse. And checking his heart rate is a heart rate of 117. That is high. I'm going to check his blood pressure. 125/83. If we look at the blood pressure chart here, guys, you'll see the high blood pressure, low blood pressure. So 125 systolic. That's a little bit high, pretty high blood pressure. Over 83, pretty high blood pressure. He doesn't need any sort of meds for now. He's fine. His heart rate's high.
What do I do if my screen's blinking white?
You're in pain.
That's just
If your screen's
your
blinking white, you're in pain. If you're in pain, administer morphine, but be careful. Morphine lowers the blood pressure and heart rate. So if you've got someone who's critical in cardiac arrest, or about to be in cardiac arrest, and they're in pain, and you give them morphine, you will stop their heart. You may not get it started again, depending on how much you've given them. You just want to be careful.
Let's
He's
test
got a
it
high blood
out.
pressure and a low heart rate. High blood pressure, high heart rate, and he's in pain. I'm going to give him some morphine. So I'm going to click on one of his arms. You can administer any auto-injectors only in the arms and legs. You can't do it in the head or chest. So I'm going to just select his right arm, and I'm going to press inject morphine. Now I'm injecting him morphine. And that'll reduce his pain, and it'll also lower his blood pressure and his pulse. So I'm going to check his pulse now. And it should slowly start to lower in a minute. It's still high. You just have to give it a minute to take effect. His systolic blood pressure is back into ideal, but his systolic is still high. I'm just going to leave that for a second, and then I'm just going to check again. Just constantly monitor his status. I'm going to check pulse again. His heart rate's down to 99 now, so it's starting to lower down. His blood pressure's 108/72, so if we look at the chart, 108 is pretty much in the middle of ideal, and 72 is in the middle of ideal as well. So his blood pressure is fine. His heart rate, however, is high. A normal blood... If you look at heart rate here, a low heart rate is lower than 45. A normal heart rate is 46 to 199, so he's high, but it's still in normal range, and high is 120 plus. It should be resting at about 80 beats per minute average. That's what it should come down to. I'm gonna check his pulse now. Monitoring. His pulse is 98 heart rate, so he's coming down. He should stay late. You want to check them though that they don't go critical for some reason. Also, if your patient has lost a lot of blood, it'll say when a patient loses blood, their heart rate will lower, and their blood pressure will lower. To treat this, you want to inject them with saline or blood bags or whatever. So to raise it to blood pressure or heart rate, you can use medication. So look at the chart over here on the right. It says morphine decreases the blood viscosity, suppresses pain. It decreases the heart rate and blood pressure. This chart doesn't have all the effects of it. And epinephrine raises the heart rate of the patient. So if your heart rate's really low, you can use the epinephrine to raise the heart rate. Adenosine and ordaprine do the same thing, they lower the heart rate. So if someone's been hit with epinephrine and they've got a really high heart rate because someone's messed up with the epinephrine, give them an ordaprine or adenosine, and vice versa, if someone's given an adenosine that's really low, put the epinephrine in, or depending on your heart rate, these can help change it and control it. If their blood pressure's high, you can give them morphine. That will lower it, but you want to watch the effect of the heart rate too. Other than that, you just want to wait. If their blood pressure is low, which would be caused from them bleeding out, then you want to give them an IV. So if you open up your medical menu, and you click on an arm, under advanced treatments, if you're a medic, it will show up. You can't use this if you are not designated as a medic.
Hey, break.
If you are a medic, you can click on any of their arms or legs. Under advanced treatments, if you have a blood bag, saline or plasma, they all do the same thing. You can click on advanced treatments and it'll show up. Give them that. Then there's 3 different types of sizes of bag. There's 500 milliliter, 1000 milliliter, and 2000 milliliter. And that's so you can control how much they go in. I personally carry around the correction. It's 500 milliliter, 250 milliliter, and 1000 milliliter. I personally carry around the 500 milliliters. It's a good balance. Right. Basic triage, if you're of someone who's been hit, depends on the situation. So if you're in combat and you're under fire and someone goes down, medic still needs to be keeping fire on the enemy. You want to keep the area secure. You can't help the patient if you're still under threat yourself. So you want to secure the area, then help the patient. If it's just a scenario like he's tripped on a rock or fallen off a rock or something, he's down, and you want to help, or multiple people have fell, you want to help people who are most critical first, if there isn't a threat to yourself. So basically you want to clear danger, then you want to, so once you've cleared the danger, whether it's taking out an enemy force or just making sure and looking around to see what caused the patient to go down, you want to check them. If they're unconscious, then you want to check their pulse. You want to check their blood pressure. If their pulse is low and their blood pressure is high, then it's be safe to give them an epinephrine. If their blood pressure is low, then they've been hit, and you want to check them for wounds, and you want to control that bleeding as quickly as possible. So you apply tourniquets to affected limbs, patch up things that are going to be bleeding the most. So basically, say there's a scenario, someone's been hit by something, that you've taken contact, someone's gone down, you've cleared the contact, then you have the patient. You check the patient. I'm going to see he has no heart rate, and his blood pressure's low, and he's bled out a lot, and he's got a severe wound to his leg and to his chest. I'm going to tourniquet his leg up, then I'm going to work on his chest, patch up his chest, then I'm going to work on his leg. Once that's done, and he's stopped bleeding, I'm going to take the tourniquet off. That's 1 round of CPR, and I'm going to inject some saline. I'm going to start another round of CPR. I'm then going to check his heart rate, see if it's come back, check his blood pressure. If his blood pressure is still low, I'm going to inject more saline until it starts to even out, and then he wakes up, and I'm just going to keep working on him and make sure he's fine. So I'm just going to be constantly monitoring, make sure his blood pressure is going up to normal and not exceeding high, sort of thing. Right. But there's different types of bandages. There's a little chart up here. So you have field dressings, packing bandages, elastics, and quick clots. Now, we don't have wound reopening enabled in the scenario yet, but I'm still going to go over that. So different bandages will have different efficiencies of healing different wounds and different chances of reopening. So you can see by the chart here, quick clot is pretty effective at healing a wound, and also pretty good at keeping it from stopping to reopen. Whereas something like an elastic bandage is really, really good at closing a wound, but it's going to have a very high chance of reopening. Same with your packing bandage. And it on here, really, it's just elastics. But usually, I would use. You want to carry a mix of them all. I'd use a packing bandage to deal with avulsions and velocity wounds. Avulsions is where part of your flesh has been torn away. You'll get that from bullet wounds. velocity wounds is where a high-speed object has entered the body. Basically, again, bullet wounds, shrapnel, grenades, that sort of thing. Cuts and stuff, you can do that with... again, your elastic bandages are really good for that. Your field dressings are okay for cuts. Yeah. If you have any questions, you can refer to the chart here. You can also find it if you Google ACEmedical wiki or ACEmedical bandage charts, things like that. If you want to know more about the bandages. If we look down here, so this is a really good resource John's put together up here on the board. Yeah. There's some under useful notes here. It says no more than 1 morphine every 10 minutes. So make sure you're monitoring when people are getting morphine. Remember, if someone's screen is flashing white and they're in pain, it's not going to kill them. But if you give them a morphine and you take their blood pressure and their heart rate, you could kill them very, very easily. If pain can return after giving morphine, it's not going to take it away. It says remove a tourniquet within 5 minutes. Tourniquets interfere with taking of blood pressure and heart rate, so be mindful of that when you give them tourniquets. Packing bandages are effective at closing wounds as field dressings, but are less effective at stopping reopening, as you can see from the chart here. It says if tier 3, so there's different tiers of triage. So there's tier 1, which is immediate. Very severe injured, e.g. cardiac arrest, severe wounds, heavy bleeding. So if someone's on the ground and their heart's stopped and they're bleeding out and they're really about to die, that's immediate. You want to get to them first. Delayed, so severely injured, unconscious, multiple bandaged wounds. And there's minor, which is tier 3. Tier 2 is delayed, tier 3 is minor. A priority walking wounded, e.g. minor wounds. So basically, you've fallen off something, you've got a small cut. Obviously, you're not going to be the first one who's attended to over the guy who's got a bullet wound in his chest and has his heart rate stopped. And there's tier 4, which is deceased. Dead or expected to be soon. So your patient's not dead until you see them sort of ragdoll onto the ground. Because no heart rate does not mean dead. No heart rate just means cardiac arrest. The heart stopped. They can still be revived if you are quick and do follow the right procedures. For example, does anyone want to volunteer to be put into cardiac arrest?
Me! Shoot me!
I'm not going to shoot you. I'm just going to stop your heart. Alright. Ryan.
You just shoot me. No, just
No. I need to be able to control this. Don't shoot him.
Nemo, get out of here. Sit down.
Sit down.
A really big amount of morphine.
So to demonstrate this, I'm going to open the medical menu. I'm going to select his arm, and I'm going to give him I'm going to lower his blood pressure and his heart rate for this demonstration. So I'm going to give him a morphine. You shouldn't have come unconscious already. Who just did that? Did the Zeus just do something?
I didn't do something. Zach, it doesn't work if... Oh my god.
I didn't.
Well,
Maybe he already gave himself
Zeus just
morphine?
made him unconscious.
Hang on, let me see.
Let's get him up.
Just heal him up all the way, and then I'll just start...
Yeah, I'm gonna ace heal
Please
him.
not fuck around with
I
my
got it,
demonstration.
I got it. I'm just
And he needs to be made conscious again. I can't do the demonstration if people interfere with it.
I'll do this.
Alright. Yeah, he's all healed up. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him a... Hold still. I'm going to give you a morphine. And I'm going to study the effects of what the morphine does. So I'm going to look at his blood pressure now. And his pulse. Morphine has lowered his pulse to 78 when it was 80 before. And has lowered his blood pressure to 107/71. I'm going to check his pulse again. His pulse is 72, and blood pressure is 106/71, so you can see it's starting to fall. And I'm going to give him another one. I'm going to OD him on it. Give him a second one. It's going to be a slow process. I'm just going to keep monitoring it. His heart rate is now 60. And his blood pressure is now 91/61. So if we look at the chart, over here, 91 is starting to get low, and 60 is at the very edge of low there. And cardiac arrest starts at a heart rate of over 200, a blood pressure of over of 145 systolic and a heart rate of 150, a blood pressure of diastolic 40 or less, and a heart rate of 190 or more, heart rate of less than 20, and a blood pressure of 160 or more systolic. I'm going to check him again and see if he meets any of these conditions. He's checking his pulse. His heart rate is not yet there, it's low. His blood pressure is low. Watching it fall. Heart rate 42. Blood pressure is 69 over 59. 89 over 59, I should say. His pulse is now 42. Okay, it's sort of stable there. I'm going to give him another one. I'm going to inject another morphine into his system.
Zach, mute your mic.
Starting to feel his heart pound.
Repeat
Slow
that,
down.
Jack.
He should not be feeling so good. Let's check his heart rate again. He's now 36. His blood pressure is now 75 over 52, 78 over 52, I should say. So you can see 72 systolic in really low, and 82 systolic is alright. So 52, 82. Yeah, okay, it's low. It's 77 over 51. So 77 there over 51. He's in low blood pressure. I'll check his heart rate. It's of 28. Now we'll see cardiac arrest starts his heart rate at less than 20. So he's about to fall over and be legally dead. Well, not so much anymore, as defined, but his heart rate stops. Most people consider that dead.
Stabilizing.
I'm going to check his heart rate again. 28. Blood pressure. 79 and 53. So it started stopping. I'm going to give him another morphine, bring it down even lower. That's 4 morphine now. Unadministered at 12:37 my time, 12:38 my time, 12:39 my time, and 12:41 my time. Note, on the triage chart, the times, they're given in your local time your computer is set to, and there he goes, cardiac arrest. So I'm going to check his pulse. Yep, his heart has stopped. No heart rate. Blood pressure. Blood pressure is low. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to give him a saline. I'm going to give him a 500 ml of saline. I'll bring his blood pressure back up. And I'm going to click on his torso, click advanced treatments, and start performing CPR. I'm going to do 1 round of CPR. A quarter way through now. Halfway. 3/4. And 1 round of CPR. Now I'm going to check his pulse. And heart rate. Check response. Or blood pressure, to say. 744. And now I'm going to give him another saline. Bring his blood pressure back up. And I'm going to do another round of CPR. I hope all you're paying attention because I'm teaching you how to bring people back from the dead.
I'm with you.
I'm still here.
Right, what's this? He's awake. Now, he's still unstable. I'm going to check his heart rate. 36. Blood pressure 75 over 50, so I'm going to give him another saline to bring his blood pressure up. I'm going to check his blood pressure again. Still the same as before. 77 over 50, so 5, his heart rate's 31. His heart rate's 36 before, so he's starting to crash again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him an EpiPen. I'm injecting the epinephrine, which will raise his heart rate. I'm going to check his pulse again. It's starting to raise. It's 37 now, when it was 31 last time I checked. I'm going to check it again. Now up to 45. I'm going to check his blood pressure again. It's 80 over 54, so it's still low, so I'm going to give him another saline. And you transfuse that by clicking on his arm and pressing transfuse saline if you're a medic. Now I'm going to examine him again. I'm going to check his pulse. Heart rate 50. Blood pressure is 82 over 54. So if we look at the chart here, we can see it's still low. So I'm going to give him another IV, the 500 ml saline. Yeah, the idea of this is not to return him back perfectly to normal. It's to stop him from crashing again. But you'll still want to get him back to base and give him proper medical treatment or a PAK if you can. Combat medicine is about stabilizing and preventing your casualty from getting any worse, and then getting them to better help. If you've got PAKs enabled on the scenario to be used in the field, then you could use one now when he's stable. If not, then you'd want to evac him back to a base or somewhere that could. His heart rate is now 51. His blood pressure is 85, 57, so I'm going to give him another saline again. Now keep in mind, I'm going through a lot of saline doing this, because I have the luxury of being able to do this on the carrier and then just bring him back to perfect health. But in the combat situation, what we've got here is fine. He has a low blood pressure, but he's not yet close to going into cardiac arrest. And you just want to keep monitoring his heart rate. And at this point, I can just go into this arsenal here, where the medical stuff is, and I should just be able to grab a PAK out of it. And since I'm a medic, it should just allow me to click on his chest, press advanced treatment, use personal aid kit. Good. And he is about to be treated in a second there. Now if I check his pulse, his heart rate is perfect, it's 80. And his blood pressure should be 120 over 80. Perfect.
I was just born.
Yes. So you were dead, and now you're not. That was combat medicine.
Do you want to briefly just mention the difference between blood, saline, and the other one?
You should
ACE
always
doesn't
only-
change the difference
Yeah.
between it, it just raises the blood pressure.
Yeah, and
All three
you
of
should
those
always
are-
carry saline because I'm pretty sure blood spoils, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's really no difference between all the items.
In Ace.
I just carry saline because I carried saline in other units, and that's just how I've done it forever. So you can carry blood
Yeah.
or plasma if you want. I just carry saline.
Okay. Well, I have to go, guys.
Adios,
Have a good
amigo.
evening. Have a good night. Try to
Alright.
get me from the dead now. Ha!
Jack, what do you do
User left your
once you're,
channel.
done with a fight and there's two men down and there's only one medic? Who do you attack? Who do you help first? One who's
you
what
wanna
tier do you
go-
have first?
You want to treat your immediate first, but you want to stop the person who might be delayed or minor from going into that state.
So you just want to put them into. You want to stabilize somebody first. You're saying.
Yeah,
right?
stabilize them. So if someone's immediate, you want to stabilize them. And once they're stabilized, you want to go have maybe another rifleman or something checking the pulse and blood pressure and monitoring the other guy and telling you if they go critical.
You explain what a personal
Yes,
aid
you-
kit does, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can use a personal aid kit when they're stable. So stable is they're not dead on the ground and their blood pressure and stuff is okay, that they're not going to about to fall over and they haven't got any wounds open.
Okay.
Depending on how the scenario is set up, the rules for PAKs and stuff might be different. How we've got it set up now is you don't need to worry about surgical kits or wounds reopening, and PAKs can be used by a medic at any time, anywhere. Correction, they can be used anywhere as long as the patient is stable. Although that could change in the future depending on how we want it all set up.
Is it glass over?
I just want to quickly go over wound reopening in case we ever have to do that. Basically, when you bandage a wound, it has a chance of reopening if that's enabled. And so if we do have wound reopening enabled, you want to check yourself every so often to make sure your wound hasn't come open. You'll notice it because you'll either be in pain or you'll see the red blood effects on your screen, and then just bandage it up again or call a medic and I'll use a surgical kit on it. Yeah, alright.
Okay,
Time to test your knowledge. Say we had a patient who'd been shot, and he has a large avulsion to his chest, a velocity wound to his two velocity wounds to his leg, a large cut to his arm, and a scrape to his head. The left leg has a large velocity wound. Chest has a large avulsion, has a minor scrape. How would you treat that? Anyone?
Left leg, you need to stop the bleeding. Tourniquet. Then you need to work on the other things.
Correct. You would tourniquet their leg and their arm, and then you would then work on their chest and their head. And you would work on their chest first because it's the most critical. It's going to be bleeding more than the minor scrape because it's a large avulsion, or velocity wound, I should say.
Okay.
That it?
We good to go?
Yeah.
It was an excellent class. Nightshade, thank you. I think
It's going up on YouTube.
Excellent.
Alright.